Ready for a deep dive into today's global market?
Absolutely, let's dive in.
We're using the Pasted Text News Aggregator, USA Edition. It's Monday, October 14th.
Okay.
And from labor strikes to space explorations, mergers, market analyses.
Wow, sounds like a lot going on.
There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
One of the biggest stories today is about Boeing.
Oh, okay.
They're cutting a significant chunk of their workforce. 17,000 jobs.
17,000?
Yeah, it's like 10% of their employees.
Wow, that's a lot of people. That's a big hit. What's behind a decision like that?
Well, they've been grappling with a month-long strike, right? And it's really impacted production, especially for their key aircraft like the 737 MAX, the 767, and the 777.
Those are some of their bread and butter too, right?
Exactly. And then there's the delay of their 777X jet.
The new one.
Yeah, the new long-haul aircraft, which is supposed to be very fuel efficient.
Yeah.
Using all this new technology. But delays, especially in the aerospace industry, they have a big impact.
Huge. These projects take years, sometimes even decades to develop, so any setback is going to have a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're talking about 17,000 jobs lost. What kind of ripple effect could this have beyond Boeing itself?
Well, you have to think about the communities where these workers live.
Right.
The impact on local economies, businesses that depend on Boeing.
Of course.
Even suppliers who rely on contracts with Boeing, they're all going to feel the pressure.
It really highlights how decisions made within a global corporation can have very real consequences.
Oh, absolutely. It's a ripple effect.
For everyday people.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse for Boeing, they're also projecting a $5 billion loss for the third quarter.
Wow, that's huge. $5 billion. That's got to be a combination of things, right? The strike, the 777X delays.
Right, and potentially just the broader economic conditions.
Yeah, the whole industry might be feeling the squeeze.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Now let's switch gears from a company facing challenges to one reaching for the stars. SpaceX successfully landed their Starship booster back on its Texas launch pad.
I saw that. That's incredible.
And what's even more remarkable is they did it using giant robotic arms.
Like something straight out of science fiction.
It really is.
It's amazing to see that kind of innovation in action.
It is, and this success just underscores how rapidly private space exploration is advancing.
Absolutely. And reusable rockets, like the Starship, that's a game changer.
How so?
It significantly reduces the cost of space exploration. It makes space travel more accessible.
More affordable.
Exactly. And that opens up possibilities that seemed unimaginable just a few years ago.
So while SpaceX is pushing boundaries in space, we're seeing a different kind of movement here on Earth, a labor movement.
Right.
We talked about the Boeing strike. And in other news, Hilton hotel workers in Seattle are also walking off the job.
It seems like there's a growing tension, right?
It does seem that way.
Between, rising inflation, cost of living, wages not keeping up.
Right.
Workers are feeling the pressure, and they're demanding more, better conditions, better pay.
They want a better deal, and they're using their collective bargaining power to try and get it.
Exactly. It's something to keep a close eye on.
Now, let's shift gears again to the financial world, where not every deal reaches a satisfying conclusion. Bain Capital was planning to take Japan's Kioxia public, a major player in the memory chip market.
I know Kioxia, yeah.
Through an IPO, an initial public offering.
Right, their big debut on the stock market.
Exactly.
A chance to raise some capital, but also, they open themselves up to a lot more scrutiny.
Right. And in this case, Bain Capital was aiming for a $10 billion valuation for Kioxia.
$10 billion?
But investors weren't biting.
Really?
They were only willing to meet about half that.
Wow.
So Bain Capital ultimately decided to pull the plug on the entire IPO.
So what happened? Why the hesitation from investors?
It's hard to say for sure, but it really speaks to the complexities of valuations.
It's a bit of a guessing game, right?
It is. There could be concerns about the memory chip sector, or maybe worries about the broader economic outlook.
Or maybe they just didn't think Kioxia was worth that much.
That's also a possibility.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance between a company's perceived worth, market conditions, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely.
It's high-stakes poker with billions of dollars on the line.
That's a great way to put it. High-stakes poker.
Sometimes you just got to know when to fold them.
Exactly. It's like trying to predict the stock market sometimes.
Exactly. There are so many factors at play.
Speaking of deals, there were some mergers and acquisitions that made headlines.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Lundbeck, the Danish pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, I know them.
They're acquiring Longboard Pharmaceuticals for $2.6 billion.
Interesting. What does Longboard do?
They focus on developing treatments for neuro-rare conditions.
Okay, so those conditions that often get overlooked.
Exactly. So this acquisition could actually have a real impact on people's lives.
Yeah, it could accelerate the development of new treatments, getting them to patients sooner.
It's a good reminder that these business deals aren't just about profits.
Right, they can have far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely. Now, another acquisition to note is B. Riley Financial, selling its appraisal and valuations unit
Okay.
to Oaktree Capital for about $386 million.
What's the takeaway there? Is that a good or bad sign for the market?
It's hard to say, but it shows how companies are constantly adapting and adjusting their portfolios.
Right, always looking for an edge, trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Now, shifting gears a bit, there's a big legal battle brewing that could have huge implications for the tech world.
Oh, yeah. What's going on?
It involves Google and their App Store, Google Play.
Okay, I've been following that. What's the latest?
A judge in California just issued an injunction that could force Google to open up their App Store to more competition.
Wow, that's significant. So basically changing how apps are offered and downloaded.
Potentially, yeah. Google's arguing that this could compromise the security of the Android system.
Of course, that's their go-to argument.
Right, but others are saying this is a win for consumers.
How so?
Well, more competition could mean lower prices, more choices for users.
That's true. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Definitely one to watch. Now, remember that $5 billion loss Boeing is facing.
Yeah, that's hard to forget.
It turns out a big chunk of that is coming from their defense business, not just the commercial airplane side.
Really? I hadn't heard that. What's going wrong there?
It seems like some of their defense projects might be going over budget or facing delays.
Okay, so even their defense programs aren't immune to these challenges.
It seems not. And speaking of things not going to plan, Ford is having some issues with their rear view cameras.
Oh no, that's not good. What's the problem?
The NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is investigating.
Oh, okay, must be serious then.
It seems like it could be an issue with their 2019 Ford Flex vehicles.
And what's happening? Are the cameras just not working?
Some drivers are reporting blank screens, others are seeing distorted or even inverted images.
Wow, that's dangerous. Talk about a backwards view, literally.
Right. It's a good reminder that even with all the advancements in technology, things can still go wrong.
Absolutely. And when it comes to safety, especially in cars, those issues can have serious consequences.
Yeah, it's a good thing they're investigating. Hopefully they can get to the bottom of it sooner rather than later. But on a brighter note,
Oh yeah, what's that?
General Motors is teaming up with Barclays for a new credit card.
Really? A credit card? What's the angle there?
It's all about rewards.
Rewards. Okay.
Customers can earn points on their everyday spending and then use those points towards a new car, like a Buick, Cadillac, or even an electric vehicle.
So it's like a car loan in disguise?
Kinda, yeah,
That's a pretty interesting strategy, though.
it is.
I mean, it's a win-win for both companies, right?
Yeah.
General Motors gets to boost their sales, and Barclays gets more cardholders.
Exactly, it's all about those partnerships.
Makes you wonder what they'll think of next.
I know, right? Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From Boeing struggles to SpaceX's achievements to labor movements, mergers and acquisitions.
It's been a whirlwind.
It really has. A snapshot of the global market in action.
And it just goes to show how interconnected everything is, right? What happens in one corner of the world can ripple out and affect us all.
It's true, and it's easy to forget that when you just see the headlines flashing by.
Exactly. But when you take a deeper look, you start to see the bigger picture.
And that's what we try to do in these deep dives, right?
Yeah.
Give our listeners a more nuanced understanding of the forces shaping our world.
Because it's not just about the numbers, it's about the people, the companies, the decisions being made every day that impact all of our lives.
Exactly. So next time you're scrolling through the news, take a moment to think about the story behind the story.
What are the implications? Who's affected? And how does it connect to the bigger picture?
That's a great point to end on. Always be curious, right? Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the global market. Until next time,